Greetings, my friend. We are all interested in the future, for that is where you and I are going to spend the rest of our lives. You are interested in the unknown, the mysterious, the unexplainable. That is why you are here.
10 minutes left. Yeah, but there's still some time. It's not the final score. We need more than the numbers we're given. Show us you live and breathe the game. You're more than a name. That's what we came for. We can bring you more than the score. Every story. Let's take this thing off of the field into the real world, away from the numbers,
Hello and welcome to episode 286 of the AFTN podcast. I am new dad, old dad bod, Joe DC. I'm joined by the only man who has done a professional foul in a charity football game. It's Nicholas Ruprecht.
It's totally worth it.
It was worth it. And I think it was inside the box. I was there that time.
It wasn't inside the box.
We
It started outside the box.
of course, your slide tackle from behind that seriously hurt that young boy was outside the box, right? Nick, it's been a while, hasn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
It's been 2 weeks since the baby.
Mm-hmm.
First day back at work today, running on very low fumes.
Well-
Much like the Whitecaps. They
Ooh.
are. Oh, I'm just kidding. They actually just won their game. We'll talk about that in a second. We have an opening question just to get the ball rolling. It's been a while since I've done this podcast, Nick, because of young Declan there. Thanks for all the people who tweeted supportive messages and those who also tweeted unsupportive messages with horror stories of how kids sleep 1 hour in the day and so on. Nick, if you could choose, or if you could force Bayern Munich to take another player as well as Alphonso Davies, who would it be?
At this point, I think I would say take the red card machine, Efren Juarez.
Yeah, a good shout. Is it more to get him off of our hands? And
I think so.
yeah,
I think that would be basically it.
he played pretty well in the game that I just watched. You were hiking, so you weren't
Yeah.
able to see it. You literally just came off the trail into my house. But we'll discuss that game in a second. I would give them Breck Shea, and
That's
for,
a good
for
one.
one reason. The look that Thomas Muller will give Breck Shea as he tries to do some stupid defending is going to be worth its weight in gold. You know that like bemused look that Thomas Muller gives players sometimes? He's just like, huh? Players that he can't comprehend. That's the kind of look I'm going after. So let's go back to the regular structure of the show. So there's been a few times where there's been some circumstances that we haven't gone with the regular structure, but let's go back to it. Actually, funny story before we do. 2 weeks ago, Nick, do you know why there was no preview show?
Because you were having a kid?
Yeah,
You weren't having
I wasn't having the kid. My wife was having the kid. But Gideon and I were just about to record after the TSS Rovers game when I got a call from my wife that we had to go to the hospital. So I rushed, like minutes before we were about to record that preview show, straight to the hospital. And here we are today. So, part one, complete the sentences. I feel blank that the Whitecaps have been playing so badly. So what kind of emotion?
I don't know. I feel bad that the Whitecaps have been playing so badly.
You feel bad for them or bad for
I
yourself?
feel bad for myself and feel bad for them.
That you have to watch it, I guess, is part of it. Yeah, there's been a word that's been on Twitter a lot recently is I feel like apathy. Like, like when you've stopped.
They feel nothing. They've
Yeah,
just
exactly.
Basically, the Whitecaps have made people become nihilists.
Yeah, I know we're kind of on like an upturn right now because they just got into the final of the Canadian Championship, but even that wasn't the most inspiring thing. Anyway, we'll move on. Davies will play blank games in his Bayern career.
10 games?
10 games, really? Ooh.
I think he will have a hard time. I would imagine he would have a hard time breaking into that kind of squad.
Yeah, we didn't plan this, but later we should go over the depth chart for Bayern in wide positions. I'll try and find that.
Yeah, I imagine it's impressive.
Oh, absolutely. I'm concerned that he looks too much like David Alaba. You know, we might confuse them on the pitch. And they both play on the left side, although Alaba can play everywhere.
Yeah. He does everything.
He looks great in a Bayern jersey. Does Davies. Oh, he looks so
Are
good.
you going to get a Bayern jersey?
I put a thing on Twitter. How many people would like to bulk order with me? Because you pay for shipping, right?
Yeah.
A Bayern jersey with Davies on the back. And I think I've got more than 15 people who are in with me already.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah, but those jerseys are so expensive. That's the other thing. I looked it up on the website. It's like €80.
Maybe you could get some sort of knockoff ones.
Oh, I do speak Chinese, so it's not a hard thing to do if you go on that side of the internet. I believe Davies will play. I'm going to go 40 to 50 games in his Bayern career.
40 to 50
games. Like he could go out on loan.
That's why I said 10. Because I think he'll probably go
Bayern
out
have
on
a B team in the Bundesliga too. I believe, right?
I mean, I assume that's where he would start.
Yeah, but he in a lot of his press conferences, there's been kind of indications that he's there to get a chance in the first team, right? Like if there's so many clubs after him, wouldn't that be part of the package that they promise him? Like PSG came in with a bid. We've heard Liverpool and United have been interested, like smaller teams like PSV Eindhoven, things like that. Like
PSV Eindhoven would have been a good team for him to go to.
Oh, it would, but like if Bayern's knocking on the door, or Liverpool or United.
Sure. But I guess
why would he go to the team that didn't guarantee him playing? Yeah. Is there a better place for him to develop than Bayern Munich?
Dortmund
would probably be the only one. I can't think of an English club that would develop him in a good way.
Yeah. I mean Ajax.
Yeah, but that's like the second or third tier of club, really. Ajax, traditionally one of the biggest teams in the world, of course. I mean, but now they didn't even qualify for the Europa League last season.
But
right?
That's not their model. Isn't to
qualify
for the Europa League.
I agree.
Their model is to develop you as a good player.
But it's outside of their business model to buy a player for more than 15 million anyway.
That's true.
So
That's true.
That probably priced them out of that. But the clubs that were interested are just insane.
Yeah.
I'm not.
If you believe the rumors.
Those rumors seem substantiated. I think Farhan, the guy who works for the Whitecaps on Twitter, he was dropping these bombs about how coveted Davies was. I know he's it's on his brand.
Exactly. Why wouldn't he just try to be?
Yeah.
But him up, right?
Because what made me believe it more is that it all happened after the Bayern announcement.
Okay.
So he held on to that information.
But that might still influence.
Well, the hype train is gone, right? We'd why are we hyping him at this point? Except for marketing.
But then
purposes.
if you can be we can walk away from this deal to talk to these people.
Is this a rare circumstance that a player who got sold is going to sell more jerseys than any of the current players combined?
Maybe
it could well be. He's going to be
Anyway, I feel like we've deviated a bit.
We have definitely. I believe that the answers to the Caps issue is.
I don't think there's any particularly one answer.
I'm going to go for accountability.
I would say maybe lack of investment, but maybe that will change.
Yeah, well, they do get 100% of the transfer deal.
And I think poor player selection a little bit. And some tactical choices as well.
We're in a weird bind where we don't have a lot of cap space, but we don't have a lot of good players either.
Yeah.
That's a manager's nightmare. You can't even acquire players unless you move some on. And then it's no secret that they're actively trying
to get some of them out of here.
Like Breckshay and I don't like saying it, he's had his moments. And he was quite good today in the Montreal game. But we'll discuss that game after we talk about Minnesota. Mm-hmm. Minnesota are one of the teams that are definitely on the up right now.
Yeah.
I've actively gone to watch their games on DAZN because they've actually been really fun to watch these last few games. Offensively, they're clicking, Nick, right?
Yeah. I mean, they just destroyed LAFC 5-1.
Yeah. Who are second in the league standings.
Yeah.
And they're above the Caps already.
Yeah, and I think they have Darwin Quintero basically is their engine, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, 9 goals, 4 assists.
Yeah.
He's just a different caliber of player that we're used to seeing, right?
Yeah. Well, I think he's basically usually he plays as an AMC or
he
a
drifts.
free roaming kind of playmaker. I mean, he helps in possession. He plays out wide. Then he plays in the middle. Then he'll play out wide again. He can pass fantastically.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
did you see his... I forget who the opponent was, but the 3 chipped goals he scored in one game. Like, by the third goal...
He was just having fun.
Yeah.
He was just doing it for a laugh.
The technique is incredible. Like, those 3 goals, I watched them multiple times each. Just a fantastic player. And their style seems to encourage him getting on the ball a lot.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it'd be a bit of a shame.
It might sound obvious to you and me, but like, look at our team, right? Our best players don't get on the ball very often, right? But
that's true.
Let's keep it on Minnesota. You mentioned that they beat LAFC. Well, I wrote annihilated on the running order.
That's probably true.
Yeah. And actually, some very interesting like Twitter conversations that I saw. I've been on Twitter a lot while I've been holding the baby, so that's why I have so much Twitter content right now. But a couple of people were saying, LAFC fans, don't worry too much about it. This is MLS. Those results happen, 2 or 3 times a season. You could be a really good team and just get destroyed, right? Like it's happened to Atlanta first day of the season against Houston. They lost like 4 or 5-1 or something like that when Elise was unleashed at the right wing. But I think we can agree on that it's really been the offense that have caused this upsurge. These 3 wins on the bounce right now for Minnesota. It's the attacking pieces. We've already mentioned Quintero, Ramirez, Ibarra, Nicholson. I've been informed is no longer on the team, even though I keep making that mistake.
You really want him there.
I like him. He's a good player. But Ramirez in particular, he plays that central attacking role. And just that those selfless runs.
Yeah, no, and he was a pickup from the USL, wasn't he?
I'm not quite sure about that.
Or was he... but yeah, he does, like you said, he does the selfless runs, he does the dirty work, and occasionally he gets set up.
Yeah, for a tap in,
for a nice tap in from Quintero because he just dribbles through.
And he's not a small player either. He's like he's quite not like a target man, but quite large as well.
No, he can throw his body around.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking at their formation, like we've mentioned, they have set up to let those attacking players succeed. It's a 4-2-3-1. The backline isn't the star of the show at all. We'll discuss them a little bit later on. But Schuler, who's having a great season. I think everywhere I've seen, he's been their like second best player, like in terms of rating wise. Beside Ibarra, they both have passing success rates of over 80%, which is what you want to see. And Ibsen as well. Ibsen comes in. Yeah. Just a midfield that's functional. They know their style and they play it well.
Well, I think the roles in their midfield are very well defined.
Yeah.
Like Schuler works well. He doesn't necessarily always win the ball, but he's there to make that outlet pass to Quintero. Yeah. Usually, like that's the guy you're aiming for. Yeah. And then the Ibsen or Ibarra, right? They're usually the ball-winning midfielders. But
between them, they have 9 goals and 6 assists for the season.
Yeah, that doesn't mean they don't get forward.
But I'm just multifunctional, right? Like what you really want to see. Actually, to go back to Ramirez, 7 goals. Like Quintero has 9, but Ramirez has 7. Like that's a dynamic duo if you have one, right? Like Quintero down the middle, and then Ramirez as like that second, not second creator.
Quintero drifting everywhere.
Yeah. It's going to be a nightmare to pick him up. Like if you play a back 4, like think of all the spaces that he could see. If there's any gaps between the back line and the midfield, Quintero will be there, right?
Yeah.
Assuming that he's not rested for a game like the Whitecaps, who are probably an easy acquisition or not acquisition,
easy
opponent. Actually, Minnesota have had injury trouble as well, right? I think it was preseason or early in the season they lost Kevin Molino, and is Findlay injured as well? I can't remember, but I
feel like there was a number of players that you would have pegged maybe as starting players like Findlay, but then it doesn't really matter because they
brought in someone
who can basically create magic on their own.
Yeah, absolutely. So many teams missed that, including the Whitecaps, right? The last game we played against Minnesota was one of the most frustrating games of the season for the Whitecaps.
Absolutely terrible.
The Whitecaps lost 1-0, and they conceded after Minnesota went down to 10 men. Yeah. And they played against 10 men for 40 minutes, and Ibarra got a goal a few minutes after the red card.
Basically, I remember that game. Basically, all it was crosses to
Kamara
who wasn't in the box, or when he was in the box, was marked by 3 central defenders.
Yeah. not ideal, not at all. We've discussed already that it's a 4-2-3-1 for Minnesota. Vancouver have been playing a 4-4-2. Looking at the history of like how these tactics have evolved, not in the MLS, but like more in Europe and things like that. The 4-4-2 or the 4-2-3-1 is there to exploit a 4-4-2. So will we just be easy pickings for Minnesota?
I feel like
this game?
That would be true because there's not going to be, especially with the 4-4-2, you're basically just letting Darwin Quintero sit between your two lines of four.
Yeah.
And basically do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
He can shoot from outside the box and he can score from that far out. So
and if you commit a defender
to him,
Ramirez is there or someone on the wings.
So he can make a pass.
Yeah.
So I don't think maybe it's not popular to make a tactical adjustment just for one player, but if you're going to do it just for one player, I would say.
Well, he's set the league on fire.
I would say.
I can't think of many players that have done better than him, like so instantaneously for a team.
Yeah,
he's really been fantastic.
Yeah,
it's gotten to the point with the Whitecaps sometimes that I'm excited to watch the game because of the other team and what kind of players they have, or just to see a team with a structure sometimes.
Yeah, well, they have an identity.
Yeah, and Adrian Heath
in a sense, that identity is their defensive unit sits kind of deeper, the back four.
Yeah, I think that's
deeper,
fair.
Don't push that far up, and then
from what I've seen, that's definitely how.
Then the rest of them, once it gets out on the run. Go on the run and see what happens, and look for Quintero.
Well,
play through Quintero.
The game is at BC Place this weekend.
Yeah,
so that'll definitely be to their advantage. And the Whitecaps are the ones under pressure to get a win. They're equal on games right now, but Minnesota have two more points.
Yeah,
so the onus is on Vancouver to go and get a result here.
Well, this is worth 6 points then.
Yeah, it's you could say a 6 pointer
swing.
Yeah,
in a sense.
I've always found that phrase kind of interesting, the 6 pointer, because but it's true.
You get 3 points and they don't.
Get 3 points.
And especially,
I don't think we're quite at that stage of the season yet, but we're getting there.
I feel like we're.
Well, we have a rot right now, which is kind of different.
But it's summer, and basically how the summer goes is how your season goes.
I think that's a fair shot. Yeah. Minnesota though have not had a clean sheet since May. If you had to pick a weakness for this team, and I'm not pitching them as the best team in the league right now. They're only I think they're right underneath the playoff line. Their weakness is in the back.
I think that's a little bit due to their wingers
not tracking back
enough.
Yeah. They don't have the most experienced back line. According to Who Scored, their most common back four is Mears, Boxall, Calvo, and Thiessen. None of those.
Mears is old,
experienced, but old ultimately.
So you don't expect him necessarily to be pushing forward that much.
Calvo is a good defender, but
Boxall
is not having a good season.
Not a great CB.
And Bobby Shuttleworth
is a good goalie. He's a fantastic goalie.
Not outstanding, but he's okay.
He can steal a game or two.
Yeah,
I think it was.
He's not a bad goalie.
I think he's a very good goalie. So.
You're happy with the job that Adrian Heath has done with his team so far?
You know what? I think yes, because he has actually a lot of experience with expansion sides. Mm-hmm. I mean, Orlando City, yeah. But before that, in the USL, when they were incorporated as well, if I remember correctly, which I could be wrong, he was there when they got the team started as well. So, and
he's always going to be the angriest man in MLS for me. But I know he's more than that. I'm above the, that first impression that I have. Good. Well, that kind of concludes our Minnesota United preview. We're not going to do You Know Who I Am, Nick?
Okay.
But during a very boring meeting today, today at work, some people might be familiar with the game called Make Your Own Adventure.
Or Choose Your Own Adventure.
Choose Your Own Adventure, yeah. It goes by different names. Call it in North America. So, Nick, I have gazed into your future.
Oh, boy.
And I've seen this vision, okay? So come along with me on this journey, okay? So for those of you who don't know what's going on, I have written a full script of a story with all these different permutations, and Nick is going to be presented with options that he'll have to pick. So it's like one of those word video games that we're really...
Text-based adventure.
Yeah, text-based adventure. That's basically what's happening. So... AFTN listeners, come on me with this journey. Nicholas, the year is 2018.
Okay.
After a 1-0 loss to Colorado, where Stefan Marinovic punched the ball off Brek Shea's head into the top corner of the goal.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the setting right now.
Yeah.
Spike has dropped his head in disappointment. Pamu Duka was seen crying on the bench. Robbo remained stoic as he departed the field, flanked by security guards who stopped him several times to pat him down. You walk towards downtown and arrive at a crossroads near waterfront. Do you turn left or right, Nick?
Yeah, let's go right.
Let's go right?
Let's go
okay.
right.
You have chosen right. This leads you to the front of a tall building on the waterfront. You are drawn inside by this weird music, and there's an elevator waiting for you, suspiciously. You can choose to go to the 2nd, the 3rd, or the 5th floor. Which one do you choose?
As a tall person, let's go to the tallest floor, so 5th floor.
You chose the 5th floor, Nicholas. And when the door opens, it's mayhem. You can see balloons and confetti flying everywhere. You see Carl Valentine giving a piggyback to Martin Pert in jubilation. White is the Colour is blaring on full blast in the background. Stuart Kerr is leading a Congo line. Do you A, join the Congo line? B, try to find a quiet room to figure out what's up? C, run away as fast as you can as you sense evil?
I'm gonna go with I enjoy figuring things out, so
yeah.
I'm intrigued by this mystery.
That is the logical thing to do. Just for reference, we're only page 1 of 4 in, so sit tight, everybody. You try to muscle your way through the crowd, and you're pretty sure Greg Anderson just kicked you in the face as he tried to attempt a keg stand. Gordon Forrest has passed out next to an empty box of wine. You constantly have to remove confetti from your eyes as it's all over the place. You realize that the confetti is a strange color. You look closer. It's actually money. This is an Alphonso Davies transfer fee party. Your theory is confirmed when you see an ice sculpture of Davies being tripped by Will Johnson. You make it to a side office, gasping for air. Do you A, look around the office some more? B, make a break for it out the window? Or C, call TSN 1040 and tell Donnie and the Moj to get down here as soon as they can?
I guess this mystery has me intrigued. I will
look around the
investigate
office?
some more.
Okay.
I'll see what I can find. Maybe I'll find some transfer.
Ooh, you see a laptop. It's open. You look at what tabs are there. There's a few angry emails to the NDP about the World Cup, a tab with Canadian Premier League news, as well as a copy of Alphonso Davies' transfer agreement. Do you A, smash the computer, B, keep looking around the room, or C, tweet the transfer agreement?
I guess I will go with, I'm looking for something more juicy, I guess.
Oh, there's something more juicy, Nick.
Okay,
Thank you
so
for choosing that one.
B.
I was hoping you would go this way. You keep looking around the room some more. There's a weird light blue glow in one of the corners. You investigate. You find Robbo huddled in a corner, radiating blue energy. You understand without asking that this is the energy of an international transfer satisfaction. Robbo reaches out a hand. Do you take his hand, Nick?
Yes.
Yes,
I'll take his hand.
You take his... Oh, the adventure continues. You take his hand, and your mind is immediately transported in space and time. You blink your eyes to adjust to this new bright light. Where are you, you ask yourself? You are in MLS front office spirit realm. Every 10 feet there is a statue of King Don. Robbo, gliding like a ghost, leads you to a dark cave. You see a MLS discovery rights machine churning in the corner. Andrew Wiebe.
That sounds about right.
Andrew Wiebe is mumbling some nonsense about Atlanta United with bloodshot eyes. Doyle is angrily tweeting about Donald Trump in a frenzy. You feel overwhelmed. You need to get out of here. Do you A, give Wiebe a slap and make a run for it? B, try to grab Robbo's hand to get back to the real world? C, curl up in a ball and cry?
This seems pretty scary, so I will leave.
You make a lunge for Robbo, who hisses like a serpent, but you brush one of his arm hairs, and which is enough to transfer you back to your earthly body. You know it's time to go, especially since you see Robbo intently waiting outside of the office with fists clenched. Do you A, stop him and talk tactics and how the 4-4-2 isn't working anymore? B, call Russell Tybert over and try to distract Robbo with his questionable hats and make a break for it?
I guess I'll go with B.
Okay.
I'll get the heck out of there.
Russell succeeds. On the way to the elevator, you pass Alphonso Davies quietly sipping a Canada Dry in the corner of the hectic party. Kai Kamara is still handing out shots. You make it to the elevator at last and make it to the ground floor. You can't believe what you've seen. You go home and try and sleep it off. Thank you for playing, Nick. By Vancouver Whitecaps, choose your own adventure.
That sounds like a nightmare.
That was one of only 2 permutations where you didn't end up as
dead,
as Don Garber's personal slave for a couple of years.
That would be terrible.
Technically contracted to some, not MLS.
Fate worse. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that was fun. It took me almost an hour to write all of that, but I think we went on an adventure. I liked it. Good. That was this week's Do You Know Who I Am, I guess.
Yeah, that was this week's Do You Know Who I Am.
Yeah. Okay.
Acid trip.
Exactly. All right, let's talk Vancouver. The Montreal game just happened, so let's go on a bit of like a freestyle about that. I watched the game. You didn't have a chance. What questions would you ask?
Yeah. Who was the Whitecaps' best player?
I can't even answer that question. Who was it? I think Russell Tybert. I'm going to go on a rant in a second about Tybert. Okay. He covered, he just distributed the ball really well. De Jong, maybe, and Jordi Reyna would be my top 3. Reyna was really getting onto the ball, so it was really good to see him do that.
And who was the Whitecaps' worst player?
Oosh. Hard to pick one, to be honest. I forgot to mention Nerwinski had a fantastic game as well. Breck Shea didn't cover himself in glory. He got into good spots, but it was just a good performance. A 2-0 win for the Whitecaps. Jordi Reyna was set up by Nerwinski, who did one of his big overlaps.
So they won in regular time?
Yeah. The second goal was a penalty, a little iffy, but
no
De Jong was taken. There's no VAR in Canadian Championship, because then you'd have to go set up VAR in Ottawa and.
That would be difficult.
Who's the other team that played Ottawa? Oh, it was Blainville.
Yeah.
So, there's no VAR. But I think it was a fair call. De Jong was sent flying, but it looked like the ball could have gone out of bounds. There was just a very clear desire in the team today. There wasn't any standing around. People were jumping into tackles. There was a couple of tackles that I was taken aback. Yeah, that few seconds where you're not sure which pocket the referee's going to go over. Yeah, Daniil Henry, a couple of amazing sprawling tackles. But 1 or 2 that were kind of iffy. And Diop, the Montreal goalie, made one of the best saves I've seen in a long time. So that's kind of the synthesis of the game. Juarez came on at some point because he's suspended anyway. He came on for Gazal. The Caps played probably close to their best team. Maybe
like an A team, B team, or a mix.
It was definitely closer to A team. I think the only player that we don't see at a regular basis who did play was Russell Tybert. But he was one of the best players. So my argument is Tybert should be playing. Right, I know Felipe is a good player, but just in the interest of the balance of how that midfield works, I think Tybert does a lot more good.
Defensive mindedness is
I know people have issues with his consistency, but I really don't see I thought
this year at the very beginning
he was fantastic until Felipe took his spot, right? Yeah. But it's just I think people get frustrated with his lack of forward passes. There was a couple today. Does a lot, which Felipe is all about forward passes. Yeah. So I can understand the debate there, but based on today's performance, if I had to pick a team, not considering fatigue and things like that, I would put the same team out there and put Tybert in the midfield instead of Felipe as one of our regulars. We don't know as of yet if Alphonso Davies is going to be available at a regular basis. That's
going to be interesting.
There was some quotes from Bayern's side that they have some control over his playing time, but you have to think that he's not just going to sit on the bench the entire season, right?
Yeah, that would be a waste for them.
Yeah, and the way that he's been talking too, he said, well, publicly anyway, he's happy that he's sticking around until the end of the season.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's good for him. You get closure.
Well,
it's leave in the middle,
and it's the international transfer thing as well. He doesn't turn 18 until November, so you can't move until the next window, which is a great rule. I really like it. It's a pain in Football Manager when you can't find that Brazilian, but it's a good rule. So we set the running order more based on the previous game that the Whitecaps lost.
But it's still
an issue. One game doesn't change a trend, right?
Yeah.
So the trend that we're discussing now is how do we deal with red card issues? Do you think Robbo is handling team discipline properly?
No, I don't think so. I would contrast that with Tata Martino in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Where there's this huge kind of kerfuffle with Barco.
Yeah. And he's on the bench.
For 2 weeks for breaking a team rule.
Oh, really?
Apparently.
Yeah.
Like, apparently it came out during, like, it wasn't supposed to come out, but Tata was like, yeah, I disciplined him because he was being...
Did you hear what the rumor was?
What?
He was making romantic overtures to one of his teammates' girlfriends.
Well, I think that's a reasonable reason to bench.
How is that in your team rules?
Why not, dude? You don't want to be Terry. What was his name?
Terry.
John Terry.
Yeah.
You know.
No, you know who a better example is, and I think I'm right with this story. It's Mauro Icardi, who actually married one of his team. I think it was Andrea Castano's wife.
Wow.
They're married right now, and she's his agent, which is nuts. I mean, like, Icardi's agent. And
That's
Icardi's,
nuts.
like, Inter's captain. So, like, think about that kind of scale.
Yeah, right.
We have to say that it's only rumors right now about the Barco girlfriend thing, but quite credible sources have come out and said that.
But I think the way you can contrast that with how Robbo is handling what's going on in the team and think about, well, how many red cards has Atlanta gotten? I don't think 7.
No.
Like,
Well, Juarez has what, 2 or 3 now?
Juarez I think he has 2.
Okay. There was the game where him and Reyna got sent off at the same time.
Yeah.
And then there was this one.
Yeah.
But
And
it's
they
more
they were
of a-
both very stupid.
Oh,
red
absolutely.
Cards,
They
they
were
were easily, and for someone who is brought in to be a quote unquote
that was my next
veteran
point. Yeah.
presence.
That was what we were sold when he came in, and that's
then
not what we have gotten.
And that's not what we have gotten. Yeah, I get it. You're passionate or whatever.
Yeah.
But
he has apologized, and like I know there's
he's
the whole tongue in cheek. He does sound contrite when he's saying these apologies, but he has to prove with his actions. And can you blame Whitecaps fans for thinking that he hasn't earned another chance?
No.
Yeah. I agree. I agree. If he gets moved based on that, which I don't think is going to happen. I absolutely don't think that's going to happen. But if he does get moved, I don't think he can have any qualms about that.
No, I don't think so.
But he did show today, and I know it's only 20 minutes that he played, that he was working hard and...
He didn't get a red.
He didn't get it. Well, 20 minutes is a very short time to get a red. Although Perez, who came on, got a yellow card like 90 seconds after he came on for kicking De Jong or something like that.
There you go.
But, I mean, it can't happen. Not Frank Lampard. Steven Gerrard got a red card 60 seconds after.
Yeah.
He was a sub, too.
So, it can happen, right?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter. A red card is a red card.
But
I think they have had 7 red cards in the year.
Sounds right to me.
And
seems like the right number.
I think has to do with maybe I don't know. Well, I don't know what it has to do with, but from an outsider's perspective, like looking in at what's happening and just looking at the kind of how everybody acts, it just seems like it's a little too chummy.
Yeah. I can see that.
Like, it's a little bit too friendly.
There's favorites and there's not favorites.
Well, there's no, I've never heard of, like, maybe somebody should be publicly disciplined.
Yeah.
And that would send a message that these red cards are unacceptable.
There's multiple motivations for that. Send a message to the team, to send a message to the fans. And then once you send a message to the fans will hold the players even more accountable now.
Yeah, but I feel like with all these red cards, what has it always been? It's been somebody gets a red card. What happens next training session is that person is sent out to apologize, quote unquote.
Yeah.
But what does this apology mean if you just go out and you do a stupid red card again?
Yeah.
Like,
it's a fair criticism. Absolutely.
Then there's no, and if it's just, oh, you did something bad and you apologize. Well, guess what? People never learn from. They learn from that.
Yeah.
And they learn that they can get away with that. I'm a teacher. I know that.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't discipline a person, you are not going to change their behavior.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm not saying you can't talk to them, but there should be some consequence for their action.
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem like we're being let in.
I agree.
Fans are being let in on, like, what are these consequences?
Yeah. And we do hear the players with these apologies, but we want to see...
apologies are nice.
We want to see action. Like, apology is the right thing to do. But
apology is nice.
We need to see more discipline from the team.
Yeah.
Switching gears quite dramatically, the goals have dried up a little bit. What's your explanation for that?
Well, Davies wasn't being played for
the last
a
2
lot
games,
of them.
I guess.
If you don't have Davies, he's your main outlet for creativity.
Yeah.
So,
okay, but we're very soon going to be faced with the reality where we don't have him.
Yes.
What do we change? Like, what? Just a general idea that you have about what would you change in a more general sense?
Well, they need to find somebody who either they need to. What you would need to do is either you find a like for like replacement for Davies?
I don't think you can. Well, Quintero would be like a good example of that, but
yeah, but maybe there's somebody floating around in the world who's a good winger.
Yeah.
I don't see this. I don't necessarily see them
bringing someone in. It's
until the off season.
Well, yeah, it's important to everyone. Everyone probably knows this already because it's been discussed to death. But the Whitecaps do get 100% of the fee.
Yeah,
and there's rules about how you use that fee. That it has to go towards soccer related activities, right? If
I would contrast this with, say, for example, Josie Altidor's transfer fee from like a couple years ago
when he left. You mean
when he left? When he left New York Red Bulls.
Yeah.
They got that fee, and then they invested it in their club, and look at all this homegrown talent that they have. Yeah. I wouldn't mind that. I mean, it's a longer-term thing, and maybe, New York Red Bulls suffered a little bit from it in the short run.
That was 2008 when he left Red Bulls.
Yeah.
They have probably the best academy in the league.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Like, look at how much, like, they're easily able to, it feels like they were able to replace Dax McCarty.
Yeah. Yeah,
and he's a fantastic midfielder.
And their second team wins the USL.
I
think they got
to the well in the USL.
Yeah, maybe they didn't win, but yeah. Davies has been announced. We've kind of mentioned the likelihood that he plays. I just don't overplay him would be one thing, right? Because he will get a break. He can't move until January. Cap season's probably going to be done in October or November if we're being optimistic, which I'm not.
Yeah,
he was in Philadelphia with the Bayern team who were doing their preseason.
Yeah.
That's probably why he didn't play today. He'll probably be back for the weekend. Maybe give him a break from all the excitement. One thing that we haven't written down, it just came to my head. We talk a lot about tactics and a player's tactical intelligence, right? A player that's developed in Bayern and Barcelona and those kind of clubs will have this drilled into them from a young age. Do you think that's going to be a disadvantage for Davies in his Bundesliga career?
Maybe. I guess you can look at Bayern and they do promote a lot of quote-unquote homegrown players.
Yes. Or they poach other teams' homegrown players.
Or they poach
on
other
free
teams
transfers.
Yeah. They look at Mueller.
Yeah.
He came from their academy.
Yeah. There's more.
Who else?
Philipp Lahm came
from their academy. But then you look at other Neuer, he didn't come from their
academy.
No,
Schalke was Neuer.
And same with Hummels, obviously.
Yeah. There was Dortmund.
Yeah.
Lewandowski was Dortmund.
So all these, I don't think it's necessarily a disadvantage.
No.
For him.
But, he will be behind in that area. But he'll just have to learn.
But either you learn or you don't.
Yeah, absolutely. No,
right? You either put in the effort or you don't.
Yeah. Yeah. No, agreed. So, back to the game. We talked 4-4-2 for the Whitecaps. Do we make an adjustment?
Never a back three.
That's just a rule moving forward with the Whitecaps.
Maybe go back to the 4-2-3-1.
Yeah, because the 4-2-3-1 matches the 4-2-3-1 really well.
Here's the thing, but I also would be interested to see, has anybody tried to man-mark Quintero? I'm
sure people have tried. He's only been here, not many games. Let me see. He's made 16 appearances. That's not a big sample size. Who would you have man-marking? Gazal?
Or Tybert?
Tybert.
But you might be Tybert.
But yes, true. But you're also stopping... You're kind of curbing Tybert's...
other
skill set by making him a man-marker. He can do it. He's one of the fittest players on the team. Or he was, at least, back in the day. But I can see that, but... If Felipe was in there instead, then Quintero will basically get a free rein, right?
Yeah.
Because Gazal is kind of the anchor. He doesn't float too much.
Yeah.
Maybe that's another thing. Another reason we could play Tybert in there. Key roles. Who what area of the field needs to perform to get us a result here?
We need to out in the wide spaces for sure.
That's my answer as well. Yeah, the wingers need to step up. Teixeira played well today, but definitely has another gear in him. And Reyna's a floaty player as well. Breck Shea started in left wing today at the Montreal game. Thoughts?
Yeah. Well, obviously, it didn't seem to go from your perspective. Didn't seem to be good.
He wasn't bad. He just wasn't good either.
But then I don't really necessarily see him starting
on the weekend.
On the weekend.
Well, if Davies isn't available, it's him or him, Teixeira, Ibini. God, all our white players are so forgettable. I can't think of anybody. Like, there's not an abundance of choice there.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, obviously the preferred one would be Davies.
Yeah.
But
talking about midfield dynamics, you mentioned about dropping perhaps Tybert back there.
Yeah.
But he's not the only threat that Minnesota have. It's like those surging runs, and then Schuler getting on the ball is like he kind of quarterbacking as well. Like if I think if we saw the level of desire in the midfield that I saw today, then the weekend game is less daunting. But I'm not confident that same kind of winning the second ball mentality will be there. It's like this is a good midfield as well. Like how many times have we seen the Caps get overrun this year? Yeah. It's been too frequent, right?
Well, that kind of does have to go with how they're tactically set up, though.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're
Which
only
will depend a lot on the formation.
Yeah.
Then.
If you're only playing with 2 central midfielders and they have 3, well,
yeah, you're gonna get run around.
You're gonna get,
and if one of them is Quintero, you're
gonna get even worse.
Yeah. Actually, an issue that we didn't list on the running order is goalkeeper. So Marinovic played today, kept a clean sheet, didn't have to make too many amazing saves from what I can tell. Oh, there was one miss, Nick, by Mancosu. You should have to watch it. It's almost unexplainable. But anyway,
it was one of those like tap ins and then somehow.
But he left it because I think he thought it was offside and he thought that the ball would go in.
Yeah.
But he wasn't offside and the ball didn't go in. So he had a tap in that he just left because he thought that he would, disallow the goal, right?
Yeah. Play the ball, I guess.
Play the ball, play the whistle. Yeah. There's no VAR, I guess. But that's just like a game theory thing. Do we think Henry and Waston are better than Boxall and Calvo? My answer is yes.
Yeah. I mean, like, I think so. I mean, I looked up some numbers.
Hit me with the numbers, Nick.
So, in terms of like interceptions, Henry has 2.3 per 90 for what he's played. Waston has 1.6. Boxall has 1.9, and then 1.8 for Calvo. And then clearances as well. Henry has 6.7. Waston has 4.3. Boxall has 3.8, and then Calvo has 6.
Okay.
So I mean, they're
comparable.
They're comparable.
Yeah.
I mean, just based on the numbers, but then
I'm going more off feel. Like Calvo, okay, Boxall feels like he has a mistake in him. But then again, maybe the lineup I was looking at isn't what they've been playing recently. Yeah, like Calvo's a player that kind of makes me feel calm. So I'm not too.
I mean, I'd love to have him on the Whitecaps. He would be here.
Yeah. Oh, so actually, last game. Sorry, just pull this up. So, it's brand new research for everyone. They played 5 at the back with a 3 and then a 2. So.
Well, that would work well against the Whitecaps, especially.
They don't need 5. They don't need 5 at the back against the Whitecaps. It's not. They don't need that many defenders, especially if you play with like Kamara. I don't think. Yeah, I don't know. I'm skeptical about that being their formation on the weekend. If Davies doesn't play, like what? Do we go longer? Do we go shorter? Do we just completely change the system? Like, we've just been so dependent on him. Yeah,
we've been dependent on him because he's our best player.
But so dependent. I don't think I've ever seen a team be more dependent on one player.
Fair enough.
Well, like, what team that I follow anyway, like, consistently.
I think the key is those set pieces, for sure. They're but I don't really see them. I mean, whether it's Davies playing out wide or someone else playing out wide, I guess the question is how much cross is, and the service from those crosses, how well will they work? Yeah,
well, the service it's felt like it's been getting better from dead balls. Like, we were really frustrated earlier in the season with that. But it feels like it's gotten better. I think.
What about the service from crosses?
Nerwinski has been good, but the wingers need a bit more.
Yeah,
and De Jong actually has been good too.
De Jong, I think
crosses from deep have been good.
Yeah,
but Nerwinski gets the byline a lot. But
I think maybe that's more of a plan: is tuck your wingers in more, and
they like to float in the middle.
Yeah.
Today, that was a quite clear part of the game plan. was the big switch to Nerwinski, who would go take the fullback on one-on-one. And he's
fast.
He's been doing that since before he got drafted by the Whitecaps, so it's definitely part of his skill set. Let's look a bit more generally at the season. Who has stood out for you for the Whitecaps? Davies goes without saying.
Yeah, but you just mentioned one, Nerwinski.
Nerwinski, yeah. When he's actually played, because Franklin's been in there.
Yeah, and
for me, it's De Jong. Just having a really solid season. Today, he was immense as well. Anyone trending up that it doesn't stand out, but you think is slowly on the rise? Mine is Reina. Just a string of good performances that he's put together.
I wish we had seen more of Much, actually.
Yeah.
I think
his injury was badly.
I think the injury was unfortunate. I mean, I can't really say he's trending up. He's kind of still a question mark. But from when he's played, I've liked what I've seen. His passing is good. His intelligence in getting back into position is good. He's got a
good shot. He's played in the Premier League. He's not a
slouch.
Yeah, he earned that move. I believe he played for Cardiff before, and then he went to
Crystal Palace.
Crystal Palace after Cardiff, I believe.
Okay.
Last question, just a kind of a binary thing. Do you think the Caps are more frustrating to watch at home? This is just a notion I've had.
Yeah, I mean, because their setup doesn't really work well at home. And I think there's the expectation when you're at home, especially in the MLS, if you want to do well, you need to make your home
a fortress. Yeah.
You need to win games at home.
Yep.
Because there's that slight home edge, that happens in a lot of leagues around the world.
Yeah. And hopefully that game today will kind of be a lift for the team. A much needed lift.
Yeah.
And you have to think in general, we talked about the Davies transfer a lot, but being real, that is the biggest thing that's happened to this club in I don't know how many years. So that could provide
they won the Canadian Championship.
Maybe. Palmuduka on that hoverboard was one of the best moments of my life.
Yeah, exactly.
But in a more general way, this could be a big lift for the club,
Yeah.
The exposure and the attention that one of their guys is getting and they should be happy for him too.
Yeah, I mean, they should be happy for him.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, he's your product.
Yeah, and hopefully he plays on the weekend, and the eyes of the world will be watching every game that he plays. That's the other thing. The Whitecaps have gained a lot of exposure by having this, transfer concluded. I would be surprised. There's no way we could actually measure this, but the metrics for the next game that the Whitecaps play, if Davies is playing, your online viewership or your TV viewership could be double. Just so because people are wondering who is this guy that Bayern Munich just signed, right? Yeah. We kind of stumbled across this conclusion, but that's for in the forefront of the players' minds, right?
Yeah. You don't know who's watching.
Exactly.
And where your next contract could be.
Absolutely. And this is a key time as well. This immediate period after is a very crucial moment. All right, good. I think we've exhausted many, many subjects. Prediction game. The tally currently is I have 12 points from my early season surge. Gideon's on 10 and Nick is on 8. So you guys have kind of caught up a little bit as the season went on. So not bad. So Nick, let's get your predictions for this weekend.
For this weekend, I think that we will see a Quintero goal.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I also think we'll see a Quintero assist.
Just putting all your. What if he doesn't play?
If he doesn't play? Then I'm screwed.
Yeah.
I also think that we will see Gazal with 10 tackles.
10 tackles. That's quite a bit. I'll get Gideon's predictions later. Mine is an Ibsen goal because he's a really good player. Kamara on the score sheet as well. Actually, yeah, let's go with that one. And a yellow card for Waston because you can take that to the bank usually.
That's basically how you're winning.
I should say cards to Waston because it might be a straight red with that as well. Yeah, Nick, if people would like to get in touch with you in order to share their disappointment in your opinions, where can they reach you?
At Space Age Robot 56.
At Space Age Robot 56. I always think 86 because of 86 forever. But
86 forever. Your competition.
I am at Joe DC Van, no longer at Cheesy DZ. You can tweet me to request cute pictures of my son, who is the most adorable child in the world. Whitecaps have won 50% of the games since he's been born, contrary to Michael McCall's belief that the Caps have lost every game since my son has been born.
Okay.
Which was true for a week.
How much do you think your child will go on the transfer market?
Ooh. Are we going like... Will there be another like Neymar transfer in the near future with that kind of money?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. You think he will bring in Neymar money?
No. He's half Canadian, half Irish, so a solid career at centre back in the second league of France would be a good thing to
be
go.
Happy with that?
You know, red card every fourth game.
A red card every fourth game.
No, Canadian Premier League. That's where we're aiming.
Canadian Premier.
Yeah.
Yeah. There. It's coming.
Oh yeah. Oh, have you seen the logo for Pacific FC?
No, not yet.
It looks okay. The color scheme is out there a little bit. No, it's like starfish purple is one of them.
Okay.
And then light blue is the other. It's an okay logo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's I don't know. Nice I can always get behind light blue.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to go to the island for a few of those games. There's going to be no team for the first season in the Lower Mainland, right? So yeah, that'd be great.
Victoria, right?
Yeah, it's in Victoria.
Yeah, Victoria is fantastic. Yeah. I was just over on the island, so.
Oh, nice. Scouting for future players.
Yeah, I guess so.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you very much for listening to the AFTN podcast. I'm Joe DC. That's Nicholas Ruprecht. Thanks very much for listening. Your feedback, we didn't reach out for questions this week, but we always love listening to your feedback. Catch the Sunday show at, it's 9 or 11 on Sunday night at CITR Radio at 101.3. Yeah, Michael and the guys do a great show. I can't make it there anymore because I have a baby.
Excuses.
Yeah. It's a long haul out there to get there. But yeah, thanks very much for listening and enjoy the game.
When you're listening in some far-flung corner of the globe to the World Service of a Saturday afternoon, crackly reception, interference, cosy, marvellous. Somehow comforting, isn't it? You know, legendary names, fathers and sons on the terraces, cheesy peas at half-time, pint for dad, mum's at home making the tea. Everything's all right with the world, isn't it? Saturday afternoon is football.